This is the Panasonic FZ300. It is a small sensored super zoom bridge camera. This is the first I guess SLR shape camera I've had in the digital era. The reason I consider this a bridge camera on a budget was because 2016 when I bought this thing, I think I bought this was a slightly used or open box deal, so I think it was like a store demo. So I think I got this for high 300s, maybe like 390, something like that. So I got it just under $400 in 2016. I believe it was around 5 something brand new when it came out 2015. It was quite a deal at the time to get something that had all these specs. I didn't have anything with 4K, and I still, at the time when I got it, I didn't have to change that. I did not use the 4K feature. I used the 1080-60, and I thought that was great, but that's about all my computer could handle at the time. I rarely used the 4K on this thing. The 4K is great on this. I can use it now that I have a graphics card in my computer, and my computer can handle higher levels of image processing. One of the nice things about this bridge cam is you do not have to change lenses on it. It comes with a built-in lens. The lens has a toggle right here by the shutter button, which toggles it in and out if you want to zoom. I've got it turned on right now. It's not toggling in and out because this button has broken or failed to function. It does not function anymore. However, there's another switch on the side which allows you to zoom in on your subject. Now it says on the camera, it says 600 millimeter zoom. When I'm zooming in, it actually goes further than 600. It'll go, I think it has somewhat of a digital crop that it adds in it as well, but it zooms in further than 600. It has stabilization in it. It's a very small sensor, 1/2.3 inch sensor, so it's a very tiny sensor for a camera of this size. But what you get with that is you get some decent stabilization and an incredible zoom. So the zoom is what makes this bridge cam, which makes a lot of these bridge cams so special. To get a full frame camera with interchangeable lenses that zoomed in this much, you're looking at a lot of money just for the lens itself. So it does have the vari-angle touchscreen. Touchscreen is fully touch compatible to change your settings and your focus points. You can do all of your operating of the camera from both the touchscreen, and you can remote in with the Lumix app on your phone. You can control the camera from your phone as well. So for a bridge camera, this checks a lot of the boxes of things you might want in a bridge cam. It's pretty, let's see here, I'm going to change that over. So for a bridge cam, yes, this is quite a deal. Last I looked, it does not look like Panasonic makes the FZ300 anymore. They do, it looks like they have an FZ80, which I think even has more of a zoom range than this one, and they have the FZ1000, FZ2500. I'm still seeing those. I'm seeing new and used of all of these cameras. They're very easy to find, so that's why I would call it a budget-friendly camera. You can find these lightly used for quite a good deal. You know, usually $300 to $400 you can still find these. So as for it worked for me as a bridge cam because I did get so into the form factor of the Panasonic. I do love how Panasonic, you can operate the screen, and if my Peak Design tab wasn't in the way, the microphone, that's the reason I have the microphone on there, is that you can operate the screen with the mic plugged in. I'm talking to you, Canon. Canon needs to learn that. So let's get the Rode Video Micro off of there. So yes, you've got your mic jack right up on the side here, which is perfect spot for it. You can operate everything. You do have a built-in flash. I haven't done a lot of still photography with this thing. It does seem like its weakness. It's a 12 megapixel, which is still good enough for stills, but because it's such a small sensor, you really don't have quite the dynamic range and low light performance, even though it's an f2.8. This is an f2.8 lens, and it maintains its f2.8 all the way out. Let's see if it'll show. When you're zooming out, it maintains the f2.8, which is unusual for any camera to maintain that f2.8, which is pretty wide. So it does decent for a 1/2.3 inch sensor. It does decent in low light. However, it can't compete with APS-C and full frame with most lenses. But it worked as a bridge cam for me. I like the form factor, the fully articulating touchscreen, the fact that the on and off switch is right over by your thumb. You can hit that. You've got your control dial right here to control your whatever your aperture or your exposure compensation, whatever you have it set for. You can zoom when it works. This one is not working anymore, but you can zoom from, oh, it's working now. See, all I needed to do was make a video of this and suddenly it can zoom. Yeah, so there we go. You've got the zoom feature. This toggle switch seems to go in and out though. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The one on the side of, there's two of them. The one over here does work all the time. I've used this for some excellent footage of things that are far away. I've used it for vacations, and it's somewhat weather sealed. I've had it on out in the rain and out and on boats and things like that, where it's getting some sea spray hitting it. I'm not pushing it as I would a GoPro or an Olympus Tough underwater camera. It's not going to go where those cameras go, but it's done pretty well for me. It got me used to the user interface of the Panasonic style user interface. I really like that. This thumb lever here to turn on and off works well for me. It goes on, it comes on quickly, it's ready to go quickly. You can turn it face yourself and be ready to roll. So, bridge cam on a budget, FZ300 if you can still find it new, excellent. If you find it used, slightly used, and just check the levers, make sure all the zoom functions work. It's a great bridge cam. I recommend it, but it worked for me as a bridge because it bridged me into getting into what I've never got before, interchangeable lens cameras. Even back in my film days, I really didn't have enough money to be buying those Canon and Nikons with the interchangeable lenses. I just would buy whatever camera had the built-in lens in it and load in my 35mm film and take pictures. If it had a zoom, that's great. If it didn't have a zoom, I'd use my feet to zoom. But great bridge camera. If you want a larger sensor, this is 1/2.3. I believe it's the FZ1000 and FZ2500 have a 1-inch sensor in there, which is quite a bit bigger than this sensor. However, the price I think that they pay for it is they don't have quite the zoom. The bigger the sensor, the less zoom with the lens. I mean, they still zoom in quite a bit. The competitors to this one, there's the Nikon P1000 or P900. There's the Sony RX10. Those are top of the line bridge cams. They cost so much. I think the Nikons are 1,000 and the Sony is almost 2,000. At that price, they're not budget-friendly bridge cams. They're nice, they're great. They will blow this camera away in low light and zoom and every other function, but you could buy 6 of these cameras for the price of one Sony RX10 Mark IV, whatever it is now. So that's why this is a bridge cam on a budget. And let's go on to what this bridged me into once I got used to this form factor and the user interface of the Lumix style. It did work, and it got me into my next camera on this list. Oh, before I go into that one, it does use the, let's see, we have the memory card is in, memory card does go into where the battery's at too. It's not a separate one. And this battery is a little bit difficult to get out. It is a K-Star. K-Star battery here. So this one is just some cheap aftermarket, but it works just fine. The cheap aftermarkets work just as well as the Lumix brand. It is a BLC12 battery. So it's a BLC12, and this one is called the DMW BLC12. You can use both the Lumix brand and the cheap knockoff brands in this camera. No problem, they both work just as fine. And then there's one other thing you can use. You need to extend your battery life even more. This is the dummy battery. It says G95. That's not this camera, but it's the same size battery. And what you do is you just put this in here. You've got a little port on the side. That cord goes out over here. You can still close and latch the battery, and here you go. You've got unlimited power. But that is it. The Panasonic FZ300 bridge cam. This bridged me into the next camera on my list. This is the Panasonic Lumix G95. This is a prosumer level camera because it has something different that the bridge cameras don't have. Interchangeable micro four thirds sensor. Interchangeable lenses with a micro four thirds sensor. Let's get in on that there. That sensor is called micro four thirds. However, it's still much bigger than a 1/2.3 inch sensor. Much bigger than a sensor in your camera. Your phone camera. It's a much bigger sensor than a 1-inch sensor. Those high-end bridge cams, the Sony and the Nikon, that have that super zoom and they use a 1-inch sensor. This is a micro four thirds sensor. This is, I believe, 30% bigger than a 1-inch sensor. Don't quote me on that. I know it's bigger than a 1-inch sensor. And it opens you up to the full line of micro four thirds lenses. So you can get some pretty fast lenses with it. This one is not a fast one. This one's an f3.5. So it's mediocre. Other than that, it has very similar layout to the bridge cam. Very angle screen here. Look at that. I've got my mic plugged in. I can take the screen out to the side and rotate it around, front, back, have it pointed up. No matter what, it's not hitting the mic jack. The mic jack is nice and high here. So that is a nice little feature of this thing. Let's pull the mic off, put it to side, and let's take a look at the camera itself. I'll take the lens cover off. We've got the same dial with a couple customizable buttons on there. You can still go with IA Intelligent Auto. However, I keep it on movie mode most of the time. I use this for movies. Stills, this is okay for still shooting. It is a higher megapixel. The FZ300 is 12 megapixel in 4/3 ratio. This one is 4/3 ratio at 20.1 megapixels. So this one has plenty of megapixels for a fourth. I wouldn't actually want too much more in a micro four thirds because I think it would potentially mess up your low light ability. Low light is still not the strong point suit of this camera unless you put a fast lens on here. You can put a I think there's a 1.4 is the faster, one of the faster ones I've seen that you can still get on a budget by Sigma. So if you put a 1.4 on this, this is going to be pretty good in low light. This still does have the Panasonic depth from defocus issues. I've used this a ton. I've most of the time not had any issues with my autofocus on this thing. Most of the time. Let's open up this screen and see what it's doing autofocusing right now. but it is DFD autofocus. If you are going to stand and talk to this camera in front of a bunch of Christmas lights, those Christmas lights behind you will pulse. Or if you're going to use a fast lens with a shallow depth of field like that 1.4, this is going to, you're probably going to see it wavering in and out. So I've had a couple times when I'm focusing on something, it's usually motion, like dancers. I was at a dance and I'm trying to focus on the dancers, it just would not focus on them, and I had to kick it out, which is nice. You do have this switch here on the back, so you can switch it really quickly to manual focus. So it's real easy to toggle the manual focus, grab the focusing ring on the lens and just manually focus this thing. And I've had to do that a couple times, just take it right out of continuous autofocus, put it in manual focus, and take over the focusing. It is still contrast detect, depth from defocus. It's a small, relatively small camera. I can still get, if I squeeze my fingers together, I can still get all the fingers on the grip there. The command dials up here, or command dial, these are the adjustment dials. I can easily change, which is nice about this, I can easily change my aperture, shutter. Let's see if I'll show that right here. So easily change your settings. I have this toggle button on top set to switch it to silent mode. So if I need to go silent and I don't want this to make any shutter noise, I hit that button up top. You can program these buttons to control many different things. I have the front one set for my aperture, and shutter speed is on the rear, but you can modify these. That just seems to work the best. So the dials work real well. It is easy, kind of easy to hit them sometimes and change your settings. So if you're doing video, you're in 4K 30 and you want to stay at 60th shutter speed, just double check it and make sure you're at that. I've accidentally hit it and changed it off of that before. That still uses that same battery, the BLC12. However, with this one you cannot use the Wasabi brand. You can't use the cheap off brands. If you use the cheap off brands, let's see if I can get this to do it on camera. The cheap off brands, what happens when I go into record? I'm recording at 4K. Oh, now that I'm filming, it's going to work just fine. Oh, there we go. That's what you get. And it shuts off. Okay, so the G95 has some built-in security feature. Well, it will not let you use off-brand, most off-brand. The Power 2000 is the one exception I've found. Power 2000 has worked in the G95. Other than that, if you find the Power 2000 in the BLC 12 size, you can use that. Otherwise, stick with Lumix brand in the G95, or it will be shut off on you right in the middle of recording. It won't go very far. It does only have one card slot. However, the card is no longer in where the battery is. The card is now out here. It is a single UHS 2 card slot. So I've got a UHS 1 card in there right now, but you can put UHS 2 in there. So you can put some pretty fast cards in there. The buttons along the top here are very intuitive. You have your exposure compensation button, you have your ISO button, and your white balance button. So all of these are across the top. If you need to adjust white balance on the fly, ISO on the fly, you hit this and you can rotate. As soon as you hit this button, you rotate the dial and change your white balance, change your exposure compensation. One of the biggest main features from this camera is it has no recording limit on video. Right now I'm at movie manual 4K 30. It still goes only 4K 30 the highest. 1 hour 24 minutes is what I've got on here. So 1 hour and 24. I don't know if it would go that long. I think it's because of the card that I have in there. So 1 hour and 24 minutes. Supposedly, it's not really not really going to be stopping on you. However, I've set this up at a pool party out in the sun. It didn't even last 20 minutes before it overheated and shut off. So setting it outside in the sun, it's not going to last as long as a camcorder movie camera will. This thing did shut off pretty quick sitting out in the sun on a hot day. So if you can, put it in the shade. If you're recording something outside on it, find some way to shade this camera, and you're getting video, so you probably can't put a fan on it without ruining your audio, but at least get it in shade. If it's sitting out in the sun, it will overheat quick. Not in the sun, if it's just sitting recording in a normal room temperature, normal room, without being in the sun, I've never had it overheat on me indoors. Since it does have an unlimited recording time, you can use, of course, your AC adapter. Let's see if I can get this over here. Your dummy battery. You need this thing to record for a while. Got it on a tripod, you're making something. You plug this guy in there. Got it in backwards. And on this one, what you do have to do is you have to run the cord out through this hole right here. So you run it through the hole, and you just unplug this piece, run it through the hole. That way you can close that thing again, and voila! You have got unlimited power. This was the best I could get for a while. Now that it's gotten older and been replaced by a Mark II, there's another camera. Go up to the pros, still on a budget. Go up to pro level on a budget. This is the G9 version 1. The reason this was a budget deal for me is now they have the Panasonic G9 version 2 out. So now that they have the version 2 out, people are selling the version 1 for a very reasonable price. I bought this one used for less than I bought this one for new. So the G95. So the G9 has more, it's 4K 60, it does more things in video than I'll ever need it to do. There's a G9 II out that has the full phase detect autofocus, but it costs $1,600 just for the body alone, which in my opinion that's too much to spend for a body alone these days when you can get essentially a full frame body for that price. But I see it, if you're in the Micro Four Thirds ecosystem, you've got a lot of lenses for Micro Four Thirds already, which I do, then that makes it a little bit better deal. But this is a rugged, weather-sealed camera for me to take on vacation, out on boats and out into the elements. So I don't want to spend $1,500 on a body alone like that. So just to get phase detect autofocus. This one has DFD, contrast detect autofocus, kind of the same issues with the other Panasonics. It'll have a little bit of hunting and a little bit of pulsing in and out. This one's much more under control than the lower cameras. This one I haven't really noticed nearly as much of the pulsing in and out. It seems to work pretty well. And again, oh, of course, let's show this again. That's why I have the little micro mics on there, is you can fully articulate the screen while the mic is plugged into the mic jack. I just love how the Panasonic puts the mic jack up out of the way like that. Getting that out of the way. On the G9, we have got a top LCD screen, which is a little bit unusual for the Panasonic type of cameras. I would prefer to have my thumb push button to turn on right here rather than the top dial. I know usually still photographers like to use that top LCD screen. I don't use that at all, so it doesn't help me at all to have that there. I would prefer to have this control dial over here and with an on-off button there. Instead, this has the on-off button is up on the finger up there, up at the shutter button. I know that that's how Nikon usually does it on their cameras as well. That's not ideal for me. I would prefer it to be a thumb push to turn on, but that's just me. Some people may like this. Everything else about it ergonomically is typical Lumix style, works very well. There's a lock button on the command dial here, so you don't accidentally switch it. It does have the, of course, the microphone input. Right below that, we've got the headphone jack, which I never use. And down below that, something that I wasn't expecting, a full-size HDMI cable can be plugged into this. And the charger is one of those dual head styles too that you use on the large external hard drives. So it has got some definitely some pro features to it. This is definitely a pro level camera, even though I got it for a very budget price. Definitely has some pro features to it because of that. And the proest feature that I don't have on any of my other cameras, it's nice to have now, dual UHS 2 SD card slots. So we've got the dual SD card slots here. There's one thing that's lacking in this that the G95 does have though, that I'll definitely keep using it for. This one has a 30-minute recording limit. What? So full HD or 4K, you're in the same boat on this one. Unfortunately, we're back to the 30-minute recording limit. I wish that's something that they were able to fix in their firmware. Maybe they chose not to, or they weren't able to due to other limitations, who knows what. Panasonic and OM System, which used to be Olympus, they're going for the high end now. Their cameras are $2,200, $2,500 for just the bodies alone. The cheaper one, the G9 II, is still $1,600 for the body alone. So they're definitely going for the higher end market, which I don't blame them for doing that, but I really wish they would go for some lower end Micro Four Thirds cameras that people are more affordable. Until they do that though, we've got lots of used choices here. You can buy these on the secondhand market for pretty good deals and stay in a budget. That's it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. You got something out of it. If you did, let me know. If not, let me know that too. You guys have a good day. Thanks for watching.